summer is here. Do you know how much water your landscape needs? You might be surprised because less is more. Mandatory summer watering restrictions are in effect May through August, and that means no watering from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and never on Sundays. Slowly increase watering your grass from 3 to 4 days a week and only add more days if you need it. For drip irrigated plants and trees, 4 days a week is plenty. Find water-saving tips at snwa.com. SNWA is a not-for-profit water agency. You've all heard the story of the guy who went out in Vegas and woke up in a bathtub full of ice, missing his kidney. But is that true? Today on CityCast Las Vegas, I'm with Celestia Ward and Ben Radford. They're folklorists and co-hosts of the podcast Squaring the Strange. They're going to break down some famous Vegas urban legends and tell me what's real and what's fiction. It's Monday, May 5th. It's Tuesday, May 6th. I'm Sarah Lohman, and here's what Las Vegas is talking about. Before we get to today's conversation, I want to talk to you about membership. The campaign ends this week. So this is your last chance to get this cute diner mug with the CityCast Las Vegas logo on it. It's only with this round of membership signups. And it's more than just a place to put your coffee in the morning. It is showing off that you support local journalism in Las Vegas. So if you want to become a supporting member and get this cute mug, go to membership.citycast.fm. Ben, Celestia, welcome. Can you tell me what defines an urban legend?
Ooh.
Yeah. So basically an urban legend, there are a couple aspects to it. One of them is they're always told as true. Mm-hmm. So this isn't, so you don't hear someone saying, yeah, I don't believe this, but X. It's like, no.
No, it's usually like, this happened to my cousin, right?
Friend of a friend. FOAF.
Yes. Yes, I get it.
Vegas is a fantastic locale for urban legends because so much goes on here. It's a transient town. You expect the unexpected to happen, but in all corners of the world, some of the same tales are retold as like, this really happened on Sugar Hill Lane, or, this really happened in downtown Detroit,
But it's the same story.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about it this way, but with people coming from all over the world to Vegas, I feel like the stories are local to Vegas, but they spread around the world. Like, hey, my buddy went to Vegas and this happened, right?
Like a virus, yes.
Like the Vegas urban legend virus. Well, go ahead, Ben. What were you going to say?
Yes, the other aspect of it is that urban legends, they always involve some aspect of mundane life. That is ordinary circumstances. So going on vacation, going to Vegas, going shopping, going on a day trip to Mexico, things like that.
Do you find that they're usually inspired by a grain of truth, or do you find that they're completely falsified? And I guess, why do we tell them? Why do we repeat them?
Well, part of the reason that people share urban legends is because they're entertaining, right? People are storytelling animals. We love stories. We're telling stories right now. That's sort of inherent in human nature. But one of the things that really makes these urban legends stick, if you will, is they often have a twist or a warning or scare lore. You won't believe this, but, and then of course you're supposed to believe it. Or this is super scary. This is terrifying. Watch out because X happens.
Like a fable. They're teaching stories.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay, well, I kind of brainstormed a couple categories that I feel like our local stories fall into. And as you know, I'm a relatively new Las Vegan, so I'm excited to learn some more that I can lie to my friends and family about. So let's start with a tourist beware. I feel like we have urban legends that are warning stories for visiting Big Bad Las Vegas. Do you have any of those?
There's quite a few. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the fascinating parts, right? Is that these legends and these stories, they're both repelling and attracting, right? They're scary, but they're not so scary that you're not going to show up to Las Vegas to see if they're real or not, right? So yeah, I mean, in fact, you mentioned it in the introduction, right? The kidney theft urban legend.
Yeah.
And that's one I've researched pretty extensively. And it's been around forever. Vegas, of course, being such a tourist place, it is the natural setting for that. It's also told in Paris and Rio de Janeiro and elsewhere. But
really?
Yeah.
Paris. They want organs in Paris.
I don't know. How do you, I'm not, my French isn't good enough to order an organ.
Donnez-moi l'organe. I don't know.
There is organ trade in the world. So people do sell their organs, primarily in Pakistan, India, places like that. But there's no actual organ theft. So it's important to parse out what part of the story is true and what part of the story is wholly fictional. So there's that.
So I'm sure a lot of people have heard this story before, but can you walk us through the beats of the organ theft story in Vegas?
Sure. So basically, the story goes, and as we talked about before, there's a moral twist to it. There's a horrific moral twist to it, right? So typically, a businessman who's typically married, but he's in Vegas. He's at a trade show. He meets a couple, hot young women at the bar. And one of them, he takes one up to his room, and he has fun. Except the next morning, dun 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 dun, he wakes up in a bathtub full of ice, and there's either a note scrawled in lipstick on the bathroom window, a mirror window, and it says, call 911, your kidney's gone.
Oh my God. There's sex workers, there's surgeons, they can do it all. Modern women.
Exactly.
And I appreciate, they're not there to murder someone. They're just there to they did the aftercare necessary after taking a kidney out.
You have to respect that. I mean, full service, they know what they're doing. They apparently sewed it up pretty well. And of course, the moral of the story is don't mess around with sketchy women in bars. So it's a morality tale for that.
And you know what? There is a grain of truth to that because we have covered pretty regularly, let's say once a quarter, a story of a guy doing just that. His organs don't end up stolen, but oftentimes it's his watch, his credit cards, his identity.
Right.
It does happen. And you know what? Honestly, just between you and me and the podcast audience, I never blame the women. Sorry, dudes. If you're going to be that foolish, that one is on you.
Well, yeah, and urban legends do sometimes villainize a whole group of people. There was an earlier not earlier, but around the time of the AIDS epidemic. I'm sure you heard the story of sometimes they called her AIDS Mary.
Mm-hmm.
You're kidding me. I've never heard this.
Like Typhoid
Mary. Yeah.
Yes, somebody would have an interlude with some, woman of the night, and they'd wake up and on the mirror was "Welcome to the world of AIDS" written in lipstick. A lot of urban legends have the note in lipstick on the bathroom mirror is the big reveal.
Listen, I'm going to assume the people composing these stories are men because lipstick is expensive. Unless you're going to buy your mirror writing lipstick from, the cheap from the dollar store, but that's not going to have enough pigments in it, to write a good message. So I don't know where this ruining your lipstick budget is coming from, but that is the hardest part to believe.
You are bringing up parts of urban legends I've never heard of. I love this.
I know she's bringing in logistics into this.
I love that.
And that's a wonderful method of debunking is just thinking about the financials and the logistics. For instance, the organ theft thing, if you have even a little bit of medical knowledge, you know that somebody who's going to be transplanting an organ to someone has got to undergo testing, compatibility, blood typing, whether or not they're all up to date on their vaccines, et cetera, et cetera. It's incredibly complicated. And if you're some rich dude on an island who wants an organ, you don't pay a sex worker in Las Vegas to snatch a random one. You can go to any one of the countries Ben mentioned and pay less money to have somebody thoroughly go through all the medical testing necessary.
Listen, this is the part I'm going to debunk because I do feel like a good sex worker could get all that information out of someone. They would find out if they're up to date with their vaccines before the organ stealing.
Fair enough.
Just so we're clear, no one is out there stealing organs. And also, that's not how you get AIDS. Just so we're clear, everybody.
Yes.
Are there other tourist beware stories that are kind of in the ether?
Well, I wanted to bring up just because I have lived in Las Vegas nearly all my life. And so I remember when the Luxor was built. I've seen all the various iterations of Caesar's Palace. And I think there's a whole category of Las Vegas lore that is centered around places. For instance, I've heard I am
They
not
say-
an
Send
engineer.
it to a friend of mine.
I don't have information behind the scenes because I'm not an engineer that works on any of these properties, but the story that, the Luxor is about to collapse. Every year, the walls of the Luxor spread out an extra 5 inches. And engineers are baffled as to why it's still standing, you know.
I mean, I don't know. You could probably look at the actual pyramids and be like, are they flattening? If they are, it's happening very slow. Sorry, you're telling these to a historian and a lifelong skeptic, raised in a skeptic family. So like this is part of my job to be like, wait, this doesn't make sense. I'm going to research this further. Because the first thing, of course, I thought of Celestia was like, I mean, I'm sure we could find the engineers of the Luxor and find this out.
Hey y'all, it's executive producer Sonia Cho Swanson. And before I went on mat leave last fall, I sent my parents and my in-laws each an Aura digital picture frame. And let me tell you, they are obsessed. I don't put my baby on social media, but I do upload her pics to her grandparents' frames in the Aura app. It's pretty easy. Like the other day, I uploaded a video of my daughter seeing butterflies for the first time at the Springs Preserve. So cute. And the whole family gets to share that memory forever. Sometimes my father-in-law will actually take a picture of his Aura frame and then text it to me when he sees a photo that he really loves. Aura has a great deal for Mother's Day. For a limited time, listeners can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off plus free shipping on their best-selling Carver mat frame. That's auraframes.com, promo code CityCast. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey locals, check out Slater's 50/50. It is a non-smoking, family-friendly sports bar that was voted best of Las Vegas for their tasty burgers. They also have 50 craft beers on draft. Slater's 50/50 has a ton of fun events coming up in May. May 1st, they're featuring $1 beers for locals. For Mother's Day weekend, you can treat your mom to brunch and a candle-making class with floral fragrances, dried flowers, and crystals. There's trivia every week, too. May 20th and 21st will feature Las Vegas history questions. And you know I'm going to show up and try to beat you all. Lastly, don't miss National Burger Day on May 28th. If you order any regular price burger, you'll get a $10 gift card to use towards your next visit. Slater's 50/50 has 2 locations, one on the west side on Lake Mead in Buffalo, and one on the south side on Silverado Ranch in Bermuda. And it's locally owned by a UNLV grad. Visit your nearest Slater's 50/50 or head to slaters5050lasvegas.com to reserve your spot for these special events. Hey, I've got a small business shout out from a new CityCast Las Vegas neighbor. So Jen H says, Out Loud Sports' local queer plus sports leagues, kickball, billiards, and sand volleyball, have given her so many new friends and a true community. Jen, that is so lovely. Thank you for sharing that. And hey, if you'd like to shout out your favorite local biz or nonprofit, head over to membership.citycast.fm. Let's move on to, like, in Vegas, we are obsessed with luck, right? So is there any urban legends we have around, like, luck and rituals and magic and those kinds of things?
I have one, again, that kind of focuses on a place and luck. And I've called them to try and verify anything, and they will not tell me a thing. But if you've lived here long enough, you remember the MGM on the corner of Tropicana and Las Vegas Boulevard. Used to have a frontage that had a giant lion face, and it was kind of Art Deco themed, kind of like origami looking lion. And not too long after they opened, they revamped that whole thing, which caused a huge shutdown, and they had to have scaffolding up, and it was and a lot of locals are like, why did they do that? They opened like 2 years ago, and they're redoing, or I don't know how many years it was, but it was fairly quick in terms of deciding to refurbish the whole front. And word got around that it was because in Asian cultures, it's bad luck to walk through the mouth of a lion. And so all of their whales from China and Asian countries suddenly weren't going to the MGM. And they're like, we're losing a ton of money. We've got to change everything. And I could not get any verification from MGM, of course, as to whether or not that was the real reason behind their sudden renovations or not. But you can look up old images and see that. And there are a ton of Asian based luck rituals and things you're not supposed to do and things you should do for luck. You've heard the, never wear a red dress to a casino. $50 bills are bad luck. And I heard the origin for the $50 bill thing was that it's easy to confuse a 50 with a 20. So the cashiers didn't like to deal with 50s at all because you could easily make a mistake.
It's funny, though, because I actually have heard that urban legend, but I heard that it was untrue. I'd have to look up my source, but that it was total nonsense, that it was some sort of practical thing that they started to change it. And actually, producer Sonia Cho Swanson just pointed out that a lot of hotels won't have a fourth floor if they're designed for an Asian clientele.
Yes,
because 4 is an unlucky number.
But it's speaking of like origin. So I wanted to point out that, I think in the case of the lion and the mouth, I'm guessing there's a validity to that because I suspect that anybody who has had any body parts go through the mouth of a lion is unlucky. That's my guess. I don't know that.
Fair enough.
But
I mean, what about like a Jonah and the whale scenario? Like that worked out for everybody,
right?
But it's not a whale. To be fair.
Lions and whales. I mean,
we actually covered it on our podcast that kind of happened recently with that fellow who was off of the coast of Colombia. Or
he did get eaten by a whale.
He got scooped up by a whale, and marine biologists said the whale was probably as surprised as he was, and spit him right back out.
Oh, my God. I mean, the age of the internet, we can actually verify. Some things spread more quickly. Some things are verifiable. Before we move on, any other like last luck rituals, magic things?
Everybody's got their own. There's, just like sports betting and sports luck where to watch your home team play, you have to have your lucky pair of socks on.
Sure.
There are as many luck rituals as there are people. And I urge you to go to any bingo hall in Las Vegas. And just watch the old ladies. And I am one. I've been to bingo. Mm-hmm. Some will have their favorite stuffed animal, their favorite dauber, their favorite, tchotchkes everywhere. And it can look like a little shrine after a while. There's tons of luck things. But Ben, can you think of any others that are just general specific when you walk into a casino? What do you do to win?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, one aspect that I want to point out is that there are very certain circumstances under which these superstitions can actually be effective. The one case when they can actually have an effect, a small effect, is in sports.
Really?
It doesn't have any effect in gambling, for example, or like the slot machines, for example. But if you're an athlete and you're wearing your lucky shorts or you have your lucky pennant or something, there can be a psychological edge because you're more confident, because you feel like you have luck on your side. And if you're competing against somebody else who doesn't hold that superstition, they may be less sure about their ability. But hey, you got Lady Luck on your side. So there's a small aspect,
placebo, like the Dumbo feather effect. Yeah.
I've got to get some sort of lucky podcasting tchotchke to help me out here. All right, so let's move on. Like, Vegas has always been a hub for celebrities. Like, today we have Usher. Historically, we had Elvis. So are there any urban legends connected to the cast of characters that has made Vegas home?
Yes. You've heard that Red Fox's old home is haunted by the ghost of Red Fox. There's Siegfried and Roy's old place where sometimes you can still hear the lions, There's...
wasn't it bought by I think it was bought by a circus.
A family circus organization. I forget the name. Bought it.
Probably there's still there's tigers there again. That was the point of them buying it. I'm such a I just kill all the fun.
Animals back into there.
Don't know.
I grew up near there, and I remember actually hearing the lions, and it was preternatural how the sound carried, and every time somebody new would move into the neighborhood, I had a friend who lived right near there. The cops would get called because people would think the lions were out roaming about.
Oh,
but
it was just like a mountain lion. That they escaped. Yes,
the sound carried so far. Like people from half a block away were like, "There must be a lion in my front yard." So, but yeah, there's tons of urban legends about Elvis siring bastard children with showgirls. In fact, I think it wasn't. I forget his actual name, but the fellow who went by Fat Elvis, didn't he claim to be one of those children?
You're asking the wrong person.
It was,
He has the same name. It makes sense.
it was
Yeah,
part of his
yeah.
whole marketing plan. Now, before we go, we should say that one of the things we look at with urban legends is, just as Ben said, they can actually impart real luck or real benefits to, say, sports players. They can also have real detrimental effects. There can be harm from urban legends. One of the ones going around now is if you see a zip tie on your car someplace, that means you're being singled out by human traffickers.
Or a rose on your window shield.
There's a lot of things to your car that are supposed to indicate some either gang violence or human trafficking. Something terrible is about to befall you. You're being targeted. And that has led to some it's led to a lot of undue stress and fear, because this goes around on Facebook. Like, Facebook is a cauldron of urban legends and false rumors and things about
Facebook? They seem so good with their fact checking. That was sarcasm, if anyone can't tell.
all social media is a hotbed of stuff that can cause a lot of people undue stress. And Ben, didn't we find out one instance where somebody got beat up because they were mistaken as a human trafficker in a circumstance like that, in like a Hawaii parking lot? Somebody actually got beat with a bludgeon or something.
Hawaiian Shark Tooth War Club.
It was a Hawaiian Shark Tooth War Club. Somebody got injured pretty badly.
Yeah, and like Celestia was saying, that's one of the things that I, as sort of folklorists and skeptic, try to remind people is that, these urban legends, they're they're cute, they're funny, they're scary, they have a twist. But, some of them are dark. Some of them are xenophobic. Some of them are racist and things like that.
Yeah.
Fake abduction rumors, whether it's about Wayfair or Target, or, like you said, the zip ties on cars. And it just, number one, it's not true. I mean, if someone wants to abduct you, they're not going to warn you by putting a zip tie on your car. That's not a thing.
The trick, or at least the story, the way I've heard it, is you put something on the windshield because then you have to get back out of the car to grab it. And that's when you get snatched. If there's something on my windshield, I'm not getting back out of my car. I'm turning on the window washer blades and flinging it into the ether, not getting back out. Doors are locked. I'm out of there.
No parking tickets for you.
No, bye. You could be a trafficker. So is there anything we haven't touched on? Any urban legends that you're dying to share?
I was going to mention, and I talked about briefly, the Fremont Street artist. That was one of my favorite stories. So basically, there's not much to it, but basically, Fremont Street is allegedly haunted by an artist. And first of all, I love ghosts. I love artists. So it's a perfect blending of two of my interests. And allegedly, he mysteriously disappeared, but his art can still be seen sort of appearing out of nowhere overnight on streets, like, for example, chalk and graffiti and things like that. And according to one story, he died because a car ran over him because he's a street artist. So he was making some design somewhere, and a passerby street, jumped the curb or something.
Before the 90s,
right.
Before it was a pedestrian?
Right.
Okay.
Again, clearly, don't look too deeply into these because
I'm a historian, can't help it.
Exactly. The red flags will pop up immediately. But yes, that's the story.
We should probably also mention the most famous urban legend everywhere, which also shows up here, and that is the vanishing hitchhiker. And whether or not the hitchhiker is picked up on Las Vegas Boulevard outside of a casino or on the way into town, maybe in Barstow going to Vegas or somewhere else.
Fear and Loathing style.
Now, do you know what the vanishing hitchhiker is? Do you know what that story entails?
If I remember correctly from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, you pick them up and then they sit in the back seat and say something spooky and you turn around and they're gone. Is that it?
Basically, yeah. That's
Sometimes it's a mother and daughter, I think.
Yeah, there's different versions, variants. Again, it sort of varies by location, by time, and things like that. But it's actually one of, if not the most widespread urban legends in the world. Typically, the story is told on a rural road late at night, when you would expect to see ghosts. But again, Vegas is different. So Vegas is like, oh, hell no. This happened on Las Vegas Boulevard in broad daylight. And damn it, we have our own ghost.
Not even out in the desert where it does get so dark so quickly. It just happens randomly. Yeah. What do you think our canon of urban legends says about our city and about our people here?
I think just the fact that we have so many ghost stories, we have tours of allegedly haunted places. We have the mob stories, which is a whole nother rich vein we didn't even get to plumb. But, how many bodies are in Lake Mead from the mob? Well, what did so-and-so do to somebody else? We've got the mob museum. We are good at capitalizing on our lore. And Vegas, I think if you talk to the locals, everybody will go, oh yeah. And they'll smile as they listen. They might retell the story to a rube who's visiting from Iowa. And maybe that enhances their experience. Maybe they have a better time because of it. That's kind of the line.
That's a kind way to think about it. I was like, oh, Las Vegans really know how to get money out of a tourist. That was my take on it.
That's absolutely true.
It's kind of our aesthetic on Squaring the Strange is that we know logistically such and such can't be. We like to pick apart all the reasons and debunk it. But at the same time, we enjoy digesting the story. There's something really rich about the human culture that goes into spooky tales.
We love being scared. I do too. I'm a huge horror fan. Ben, what do you think?
Legends work in stereotypes. The reason they're retold and the reason they're so simple to remember and so effective is they're iconic. They're archetypes. They're stereotypes. And Vegas is that writ large, right? It's opulence. It's showgirls. It's the mob. It's this. It's that. It's perfect for it.
Our currency is archetypes and stereotypes for sure.
Yeah, and we give people a few drinks and we sit them in a machine and tell them it's a good return on their investment if they get 95% of their money back. So we are a town founded on people not thinking too hard about things.
Hey, my brain already went like, well, that's only 5% for all that fun and free drinks. So I was like, I'm in. Ben, Celestia, thank you so much for being here. I loved this.
Always a pleasure to talk to you, Sarah.
This has been super fun. Thanks.
So before we go, a quick last reminder, we're in the final days of this membership campaign. So it's your last chance to get that mug and also get a shout out on the pod and newsletter. And let's do some shout outs right now. I want to thank our newest neighbors, Charlotte L., Sarah A., Annie S., Leslie L., John C., Nikki L., Tina H., Michelle C., Sarah T., and Aaron G. We couldn't do this without you. So if you want to get a shout out on an episode, just go to membership.citycast.fm. That's all for today here in CityCast Las Vegas. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend and then maybe send us some urban legends that you've heard. Did it happen to that friend? We've got an email address and a phone number. Check it out on our show notes or on our website. You can also rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our morning newsletter. And we'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Take care.